Okay, we're now at the stage of finally putting the Wolseley WD2's flywheel in place, and we've got it on the crankshaft, and obviously no key at the moment, so she's well oiled up and she's obviously sliding about all over the place. But this flywheel is pretty heavy, and it's probably going to give me a fair bit of backache tonight after lifting it on and off a couple of times and doing a few little bits and pieces. Damn mag gears slipped out. God knows when the hell that happened. Must have been when I tipped the engine forward a little bit. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead now. What we've got to do first is turn the engine over so the flywheel key's at the top, so it's nice and easy to tap in. And we're also going to use a grease gun and just fire some grease into here to grease the flywheel. At the moment it's just oiled, so we're going to put some grease on there, and that should stop it rusting on there, so heaven forbids we should ever have to take this damn thing off again. It should actually come off. We're going to do the same with the flywheel key as well. We're going to pack that with grease. We're going to put grease on the keyway so it goes in there nicely. It fits perfectly, the key. I've already had it in there, and I put it in about halfway, and it seems to go in nice and easy, nice and straight. Seems to be the right key for the flywheel. So yeah, we're going to go ahead now and try it out. Hopefully when we get the engine running we can sand it whilst it's running. Hopefully get a nice shiny finish, and hopefully get rid of all these little bits of paint that have been left behind. If not, to get it to look at all decent, we're going to have to sit there and pick every single little last piece of paint out of every pit in the flywheel. Bugger me. Alright, let's load this with some grease then and we'll get ready. Okay, we have all the shaft greased up. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of grease out the gun. To the actual flywheel key itself, so not sure how much grease to use, but just give it a nice coating. Just give it a nice coating of grease. Line that up in the shaft. Try and get it into the keyway as possible. Alright. See if we can get it in there a fair way without really having to do much at all. There. Well, she's certainly on her way now. We're tap that in there. I don't have a drift of any sort, so what I'm going to try using is just a tiny little spanner and just tap it in there gently until I feel happy with it, and then we'll see what happens. But you should be able to see we've got some compression on this thing. And obviously she's not being run yet. Okay, let's take this steady and see what happens. It's the first one of these we've ever tapped into anything. Starting to get a bit tighter now, that's for sure. Seems to be, yeah, that seems to be pretty good. Well, I suppose if you can't physically pull it, that's just a tiny little bit of end play that we had when we started this rebuild. So yeah, one thing I did forget to mention is the flywheel only goes on, appears to only go as far on to the shaft as it possibly can. So what you got to do is just push the flywheel or spin it it actually, if you oil it up and spin it round whilst pushing backwards, it goes onto the shaft a lot easier. And then we want to get it as far back as it can possibly go, so I'll just show you that on the WD, which is pretty far back, pretty much to the bearing housing on these engines. So I don't know if you can see that in there, but the line there is the flywheel. That's the tiny little gap we have between the flywheel and the actual crankshaft bearing. So it gets very close on the WD, closer than I actually thought. So to start with, I had a little bit of rubbing on the wood, so I had to unbolt the engine and ease it forward a little bit. Luckily I managed to have enough, because these are only M10 threaded bolts, there's enough play, really it's about an M12 size hole there, so there was enough play to bring the engine forward enough, luckily, to give clearance there. And obviously, if the camera stays in focus, you can see down here with the wheel, we've got a good bit of clearance, plenty of clearance there between the wheel, but the actual wheel sticks out further than the flywheel, which is perfectly fine for supporting the engine, but we can't run anything ever off the flywheel, so we will definitely have to get a pulley for this engine. Yeah, not sure how much further we're going to need to actually try to put this key in. I don't know. At the moment, it's all looking pretty good. That's one of the governor weights there, clonking down a little bit. But compression actually feels pretty good. Okay, let's return to the flywheel key. Okay, we'll give this another light tap. Might use the older spanner. People are probably no doubt going to say that I should definitely not be tapping this in with a spanner. I should have a drift. Okay, we've got a tiny little bit more movement just then, but I think she's getting pretty tight now. I mean, I really don't know how tight I've got to get this, so I think to myself this feels pretty good. I mean, there is no way, I mean look, I can drag myself forward on the ground. The flywheel really isn't going anywhere now. I think that should do it, and hopefully if we ever need to, it should come out. But we'll see. Maybe when somebody comes around, they might see that this is too far out, and they may tell me to actually tap it in a bit further. But I would say that is a good distance in there now. Foolishly, I didn't measure the key before putting it in there. I could have done that, and that would have gave me an idea of how far the key is actually in there. But gathering by how much is out at the moment, I would say a good lot of the key is out there, is actually in the flywheel. Maybe somebody can show me a picture of their WD with the pulley off, and show me just how far in their flywheel key is in. Because if this is a standard WD flywheel key, then they should all be in relatively the same distance. But I was told to put it in until I felt it was tight enough, and for all intents and purposes, I mean, let's zoom out a bit and you'll actually see me be able to drag myself to the end. I bet I will move closer to the engine before anything happens with the flywheel. Yep. I think that's good enough, if I'm brutally honest. But if anybody does think that that flywheel key is too far out, just let me know, and I'll take your word for it and tap her in a bit more. But I am comfortable with it being in that far. I don't want to put it in too far and crack the flywheel at the back, and I definitely don't think it's too loose to come off of there. I think that is on there for good. But the real test will be when we fire the old girl up, and well, if she goes and disappears and smashes whatever the hell it hits, then I guess we could say that it wasn't tight enough. But that feels pretty good to me. I'm no expert, this is the first flywheel that I've ever fitted, so yeah, but it's not hard, that's for sure. The hardest thing is lifting the damn flywheel up to get it on the engine. That does take it out of you. It's by far one of the heavy bits of the engine. I mean, I could drag the engine's block actually onto the trolley, but I couldn't drag the flywheel onto it. If I put a ramp, I probably could have got it level and just pushed it on, but for the amount of time that would have taken up, I may as well have just done what I did. But yeah, I don't recall needing to be behind the flywheel for anything. I hope. Yeah, I think we should be alright with that. Well, there you go, that's how to install a WD8 flywheel key. Well, WD2 in this case, but same for the WD1, 2, 8, 9, and I don't know, I can't remember if they made any more of them than those models. But yeah, well, same story goes for just about every engine you might have to put a flywheel key into. Alright, well, that'll do for now. Quite happy with that. And the engine is still very nice and mobile. Bit hard to spin it around like all the engines, but actually being able to move it in and out the shed, for the best part, it should be fairly easy. But we do have to get a pulley for it, because we definitely can't run anything off a flywheel unless we want a nice belt tensioner in the form of the wheel.